Uh, yes, I played one Football Manager game for about 2 years, and it sucked a great deal of my time. Yeah, my university grades went down that year, unfortunately. I've only ever watched a game in a pub once. It was in London, and it's very rowdy. It depends what kind of game it is. It's not the same for every match, but for the big games, it can get, I would imagine, just as rowdy. If you imagine a pub as a small section of stand at a stadium, that's very much what it's like. I think they have a lot of respect for him. I don't think many understand him. They still think he's very exotic as a player. They feel like I think a lot of fans don't think he speaks any English. I think they assume that he just has a translator, which I know is not the case. He has a very high work rate, and I don't think anybody can fail to see that. They like the fact that he just doesn't stop running. That kind of player will always be popular in any team. I think that's rubbish. I think clubs will always choose the best players, and fans, if asked, such as the question you asked me, will choose foreign players to come and play for their team, so I don't think that's true at all. I have no problem with foreign owners at all. Football's a business, and you don't care if Apple is run by a foreigner or another company is run by a foreigner, so I don't think it's any different for football. As long as they're financially stable and they have the best interests of the club and the fans at heart, I think that's perfectly fine. Charm. I thought about this question a lot. I think our mass appeal, but of course if you had a Liverpool player, a Liverpool fan or a Manchester City fan, they would be scoffing at that comment. I think we just have a lot of appeal in terms of our diversity. We have a lot of fans in different countries, but I think the fact that we keep winning is probably one of our charms. We've been at the top for a long time, so. And London, and specifically, I think, from what I know, is Chelsea. But of course, it's the different provinces or different neighbourhoods in London have their own popular teams. Amongst my friends, to be honest, most of my friends don't support football. I was a bit of a loner in that respect. Aside from the people that I played with when I used to play football, no one that I know really supports football. So, I had this number in my head. Well, it's in 1999, and I'm 25 now, so young enough. I think it was the first time that I'd ever watched a game, and I'd followed the entire campaign all the way through, and it felt very real. I'd watched from the beginning. I'd watched probably 95% of all their games that were televised, and I felt as if I actually knew what was happening in that season. I felt like I knew who was contending. It was an incredible feeling at the end to win the Champions League and the treble. I think anyone who earns £10 million a year is overpaid. I don't think anyone's worth that money. From the games that I've seen them playing, I've been quite pleased. I think that they're filling gaps at the moment, but maybe that's the best experience for them. I think if we had spent money and brought in new players, we wouldn't be having them play as often. But trial by fire, as we say in England, is probably the best way to learn. So I think they're doing an incredible job. It's always nice to see. I think I just want the best players to play for my club. So if it comes from the youth team, that's great. If it doesn't, it's fine. What's it? In England, another thing we say is he gives me the willies. I don't feel comfortable, really, at the moment. Some of you might remember the defender Mikel Silvestre. He also gave me the willies far too often. Maybe he was a great player. He was a very solid defender, but just once or twice he gave the ball away in the wrong. He made bad decisions, and then from then on, every time he got the ball, your heart jumps. So it's the same at the moment for David De Gea. Goalkeeper for Manchester United, Schmeichel. We haven't had a better one, so. Treble. But only just. Of course, I'd love to see England win the World Cup, but I think Manchester United, I personally think the treble is a far more difficult thing to achieve. I mean, it's 3 different competitions over the course of an entire season. So, yes, I think I don't think any other club's done it since we did, so. Well, it can't be this season, obviously, because we got knocked out of the Cups, but if I was to say from next season, I would say England has a greater chance, but that's just because of the number of games involved. I think it might be Peter Schmeichel. I think I would maybe put them on the track of Manchester United as best I could, but I wouldn't force him. I say that, but as I'm saying it, I'm not agreeing with myself. I'd probably enforce it in my house. Oh, okay. Manchester United, I think Schmeichel in goal. These might be before your time, I don't know. Was it Steve Bruce? He was a great defender. There was another defender whose name I couldn't remember, but the one that Gary Pallister. As a central pairing, they were incredible. I'm a great fan of Gary Neville. I know no one else is, but Gary Neville and David Beckham on the right, Giggs on the left, Scholes in the middle, along with Roy Keane. I still like Roy Keane, despite what he said about Sir Alex Ferguson in Manchester United since leaving. The left, I don't remember we've ever had really. Dennis Irwin was very good. He was pretty solid, nothing special, but very, very solid. Eric Cantona, I guess, would have to be up front. And I still like Ruud van Nistelrooy, despite what happened when he left, but I would probably have to get rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy and bring on Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know, maybe. I'd have him and Van Nistelrooy would be interchangeable.
How about England?
Oh, the England team. That question gets brought up every single time we play. Again, Beckham and Gary Neville, Ferdinand at the back. Scholes. I think Scholes was a good player for England, but I'm not convinced he ever hit the best form for his country. So I'm not sure I could put him in. I like Gerrard, solid player. Lampard. Which grouping of those, Lampard and Gerrard and Scholes, I would put together is something I've never been able to figure out. As for the left side of our midfield, I think it would just be easier to kidnap someone and force them to change their passport, their nationality, than grow one. Shearer up front and Sheringham, I think, probably the best forwards we've had. Oh, I used to say Thierry Henry. I think he's gone back now, so I don't think I can say him, even though he just came back for a short time. Possibly Didier Drogba.
Why?
Because he's the Henry of Chelsea. Henry was the problem because I hated Henry because he was so good. That's what I mean about being jealous. He was exactly the player I wanted in my team, and he would never come to Manchester United. Drogba at the moment, I know there are other players that do similar things, but it's still Drogba. He's an incredible player. Different things now. When I was younger, it was something I did every weekend. It was a weekend activity. I used to play it 4 or 5 times a week. I made the decision at 16 not to go on to try and do it on a wider scale. I captained my county, but beyond that, I didn't want to go any further. It's something I like to hold on to and something I'm really keen to start to follow again. I follow the results, but I haven't watched a game in its entirety in 4 years, which is appalling, and I can see the distaste in Hyojin's face behind the camera. It's something I hope to rectify. She's going to help me, so it means a lot to me as a hobby / something. It's just something that makes me feel good when I watch it. So.